Hi, and welcome to another edition of Easy Eats for Everyone. This holiday season, we have Shelby from Shelby Bakes teaching us how to make her delicious sugar cookies and royal icing. She's also going to teach us how to do a really cool tree design today. Before we get started, please remember to wash your hands, and if you have long hair, pull it back. We'll see you in just a moment.
Okay, so we'll do cookie recipe first. So it's a basic cutout cookie. You're gonna need a pound of butter, which is 4 sticks or one of these big pounds, a cup of sugar, 2 eggs, half a teaspoon of both baking powder and baking soda, and vanilla. I believe that's everything. And then of course flour. Okay, so first you are gonna cream your butter and your sugar, and you kind of want to let that go for a little bit until it's like a nice light yellow, whitish color, and it's a little bit fluffy. All right, once you've lifted up your bowl, you can just start it on like a low speed, just at first, to get it kind of so it's not flying all out of there. Again, you can do this by hand, using a hand mixer too. Okay, so it's gonna be, you can tell it's not so yellow anymore. It's a little bit more creamy looking, fluffy. It's like built, up a little bit more volume. So once it looks like that, you can lower that, kind of scrape the sides just to help, like when you mix it again, it'll get all that butter that didn't mix in properly, kind of incorporate everything more evenly. Just scrape it, kind of get it off of your paddle too. And then you want to add 2 eggs in here, just dump them both in at the same time. And then also you can add almond or whatever flavor you want. Vanilla is what I use, sometimes almond if there's not like a nut allergy, or whatever you prefer really. You can, I do about a tablespoon or so. I know it's kind of a lot, but I like vanilla, so. And then just let that mix again. All right, so that's mixed. The eggs are all incorporated in there. You can't see them separated at all. So I'm just gonna go in and scrape it again, just to kind of get everything that's stuck to the bottom here. Okay, so now you're gonna add baking soda, baking powder. It is half a teaspoon of each. So I add that separately before, just at the bottom there. And then you can go in and add, my recipe is about 3 cups of sugar, or 3 cups of flour. So I add 3 cups, and then I save a little extra on the side, just in case it looks too sticky to me. You can always add a little bit more as you go, like, a 1/4 cup at a time or whatever. So lift it back up, or again, if you're using a hand mixer by hand, make sure if you're doing it with a hand mixer, you have a big bowl so it's not flying everywhere. And then put it on the very lowest speed, or else you're gonna be creating a shower of flour everywhere. Okay, so lower that. I ended up adding just a little bit of extra flour because it seemed a little bit sticky to me, but this is kind of what you want, where when you hold it in your hand, if you notice it's not sticking to my fingers or leaving butter behind or anything like that, you can roll it and it leaves like your hands clean pretty much. Use my hand, kind of flour my surface here, and I just kind of, roll it or knead it into there a little bit, just so that I get the whole outside of the dough not sticky. And you can roll. You can do them thinner if you prefer thinner. This dough will work for thick or thin, so I do mine somewhere in between. You can kind of just place them on your parchment or on your baking sheet. I would bake them on parchment.
Shelby had us put the oven at 400 degrees. We're going to put these in for 10 minutes. Just as a safety tip, make sure you always use an oven mitt and make sure there's nothing in the oven. Also, let people in your home know that you're using some equipment when you're doing it. We're going to place these in there.
Okay, so I'm also going to show you how to make royal icing. It's different than a buttercream. A buttercream is like your cake icing almost. It's soft, buttery. This has no butter in it. This is going to be the kind of icing that dries with like a hard kind of crust on top, but it'll stay soft when you bite into it. So I use a 2-pound bag of powdered sugar. This is like your standard size bag that you get at the grocery store. Comes in 2 pounds. I use 5 tablespoons of meringue powder. So meringue powder you can now get at Wegmans, but any craft store. And then I also use about a 1/4 cup of corn syrup. This is optional, but I do like to add it just because I feel like it gives you a little bit of a softer bite into your icing. It doesn't dry as hard and crunchy. So it helps them to last just a little bit longer. Also gonna do some vanilla. So it's about a teaspoon or so. You can, again, with the extracts, you can add as much or as little as you like. Any flavor you like, peppermint, vanilla, almond, cinnamon, whatever you want. So I'm just gonna plop this on here and then start mixing and add water as we go. So I'll do that once this gets going. Okay, so that's all in there. I use the paddle attachment. I just find that that's what works for me. And then I do about a cup of water, but I don't add it all at once. So I'm gonna start mixing. I'm gonna pour about a 1/2 of a cup in there. And then you just wanna watch it. You'll see that it does take a minute, but a little bit of water with powdered sugar goes kind of a long way. Now it's coming together. I'm gonna add a little bit more, still not all of it. And then once it looks like this, I still have about a 1/4 cup left here. So I added about 3/4 of a cup. I'm gonna turn this up and really let it whip for a few minutes. Okay, so I let it go for about 3 to 5 minutes on high speed. This is what you want it to look like, where it almost looks like toothpaste consistency. It's gonna be thick enough that it's not dripping everywhere, but thin enough that if you put it on a cookie, it will settle smooth. So about that consistency. So you can pull that off of there. And then I also like, just while I'm like getting my cookies, I stuck to something here, here we go. While I'm getting my cookies ready, picking out my colors and stuff like that, I just take a damp dish towel and I kind of lay it over the top of my bowl. This will prevent your icing from getting hard on top. So it dries pretty quickly. So this just helps it so that the icing in your bowl is not drying and it stays wet. Okay, so I took a little bit of icing out of this bowl, put it in here. I'm gonna decorate a tree today, so I am using green. Any color you want, again, pretty much freedom to do as you please. You can do a white tree, you can do a dark green tree, whatever your heart desires. And then for the trees that I do, you can add a little bit more powdered sugar. I also add, this is the consistency that I use for my details for stuff. So if I am writing like names on a cookie or something, I do it a little bit thicker so that it's not as runny. It's more stiff. So just where it holds a little bit more. And about like that. So I have a piping bag here. If you don't have a piping bag, you can also use a Ziplock bag, a sandwich bag. I am gonna use a tip here. You don't have to do this. This just makes it have some fancy ridges. You can do it just as like a circle, whatever you wanna do. So I just cut a little bit off my edge here. And then you can drop your tip down into there. Kind of make sure it's sticking out of the bottom here. And then you're gonna fill your bag. Okay, so I have that in my bag. And then a little trick you can do is just use like a cup or a Tupperware container or whatever, something a little bit tall. And you can kind of stick your bag over the top of that just so that you have your hands free. And then take your icing and you can just plop it right into here. It makes it easier so that you don't have to hold anything. Just like that. So I'll just show you how to decorate a basic Christmas tree. It's super easy. I have a tip on there. You don't need a tip. However you want to pipe it out, you can. So I'm just going to start at the bottom here. And you can kind of drag in like a teardrop shape like that. And then I do that all the way across the bottom of my cookie. So really light pressure and then kind of even less and less pressure as you pull away. So that's the bottom row of my tree. And then I go through and I do the next row of branches. And I go through, do the top, getting less and less as you go. And then one more up here. And then you can make it look like it has little lights on it if you want to use rainbow sprinkles, or if you want to use gold or silver, whatever you want. You can add little sprinkle ornaments. And then if you want to, you can use brown icing, or you can go in and just do like a little dollop of this at the bottom. And you could even use chocolate chips and kind of stick them on the base here. And it looks like your little tree trunk.
These are absolutely gorgeous. How would someone store these after they make them?
So I would let them air dry right out on your sheet pan for like an hour or two, even longer if you want to be safe, just so that they don't smush if you're giving them as a gift or something like that. But just for home storage, just pop them in an airtight container like a Ziplock or a Tupperware.
Amazing. Thank you so much for spending your afternoon with us. We appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
Again, if you want to see more of Shelby's awesome work, you can find her on Instagram at shelby.bakes. Thank you again for joining in on another episode of Easy Eats for Everyone, where we think that cooking should be easy and fun for everyone.